Hello everyone, welcome back to CSC Core Concepts in my series of database management system. In my earlier video, I have discussed about a brief introduction about data, what is a database, what is a data, and what is meant by a database management system. So we have seen that we need to construct the data, define the database, and then we can construct the database, and then we can add the records. And with those records, we can either add more records or we can manipulate the records in order to get some meaningful information or result. Now, you cannot simply just jump to creating a database. You need to have some background knowledge about how to create a database and what are the prerequisites of it. So we are going to briefly discuss about some of the key concepts of database management system here, that is entities, attributes, and the relationships. So, what is an entity when we say that a real world object or a concept, let us say, for example, an employee, it is a real world object, right? Or a project, okay, or a student, a university, a course, okay, these are the real world objects that are described in the database. They are called as entities. Now, a different way, if I tell you, in a out of the order way, if I tell you what is an entity, anything what you consider, what is a noun in your in your system is your entity. Okay, so your student can be an entity, course can be an entity. If you have vehicles, they can be entity. If you have projects, if you have cities, location, these all are your entities. So let's say if you have a database for a company, so it will keep the details about all the employees which are working, the projects under in which they are working, and various departments. So your employee, department, project, these all are your entities. Okay, an entity is generally represented in the form of this rectangle, and inside that you have to write the name. So this represents that this employee represents an entity. Attributes are which represent some property of interest which will further describe the entity. Let's say for an employee, what are you going to store? You are going to store the name of the employee, his birth date, his address, his telephone number, mobile number, his email address, salary. Okay, so the details which you are going to store for that entity is called as an attribute. So for an employee, your attribute can be a salary, employee name. Now, these attributes are generally represented in this oval, or you can say ellipse format, okay, and where inside you have to write the name of the entity, and you can map it with the help of these lines. Remember, they are not arrows, okay, they are simply lines, okay. So employee has two entities, that is the employee name and the salary, but they will have more. Like suppose department, so you can store for department ID, department name of the department. Okay, this way you can store it. Now, always there are relationships between two employees. See, if I am simply keeping employee as a different table, if I am keeping a department as a different file, then how will I understand that which employee is working in which department? Or which department has, what are the employees in a particular department? Or if I am just keeping separate project details and separate employee details, and if I have no link between them, then how would I understand that which employees are working under which projects? So for that we have to establish the relationships between the entities. So you can have relationships among two or more entities. For example, you can say a work relationship between employee and a project, that the employee works on a particular project. So in general, if you get any verb like works, okay, that is your relationship. Okay, so nouns are your entities and the verbs are your relationships. So employee works on a project. So employee and project are your entities, and works on is the relationship between these two entities. And relationships are always represented in the form of a diamond. Okay, so attributes, now these attributes which we have like salary, employee name and all, so there can be different types of attributes. Like first is a simple attribute, or they are also called as atomic attributes. that are not divisible. Let's say an Aadhaar card number or a mobile number. You are not going to break the mobile number into parts. It is a single full number. But other hand, there are composite attributes. They are such as you can say your name. So your name can be divided into first name, middle name, and last name. Right. So these type of attributes are called as composite attributes. Let's say, for example, your address. So your address can be divided into your flat number, your flat number, flat name, street address, the city, state, and the pin code. Understood? Then the attributes can have one value or they can have multiple values. Let's say, for example, if you have a age, attribute is age, employee's age. So it will have only one value, right? But if you have, let's say, the attribute degrees or the qualification of the employee, then you can have multiple values. He has cleared BSc, he has cleared MSc, he has cleared PhD, he has cleared GATE or NET. Okay, so there are multiple degrees which you can have. Understood? So multi-valued attributes. Then attributes can be stored attributes or derived attributes. Stored attributes in the sense the whatever value is there, you simply store it. Like the employee's birth date, you are storing it. But if you are storing the employee's birth date and I want to find out the age of the employee, then I need not store the age of the employee as a separate column because I can always find out the age of the employee from its birth date. I can subtract the birth date from the current date, today's date, and I can get his age. Okay, so age and birth date attributes of a person, if you have an entity age, simply you can be determined from the birth date. So that is called as a derived attribute. And the values which you are simply storing, they are called as a stored attributes. One another type of special attribute is that which is called as a null attribute. So it is applicable for attributes which you don't have any value. See, in database system, you cannot give the value 0. Suppose if I am staying in a let's say I'm staying in a row house, okay, and I do not have a flat number, right? So in that case, what will happen, that flat number column I cannot put 0 because 0 has a meaning. That means your flat number is 0. Understood? In that case, I will have to put the value null. Let's say, for example, you are asking for my passport number. I do not have a passport, right? So I don't have a passport number. So in that case, you are not going to put 0 there because 0 is again a value which it can consider that its passport number is 0. So in those cases, you are going to store the null value. Understood? Or let's say, for example, if you have to have degrees, okay, if I am not qualified for BS, I have not done BSc, so that attribute will be null. Understood? So the values which is not applicable to us, that situation is a null situation. It is not a 0 situation. Then you can have specialization. Okay, we can have other special type of attributes. Let's say, for example, subgroupings or subtypes. So when you have a process of defining a subclass, let's say if you have an employee. Now employees also have different categories, right? Everybody is not in the same category. So you can say superclass is the employee. He is basically an employee, but it has subclasses such as he can be a secretary, he can be an engineer, he can be an accountant, he is a technician. Okay, now you can also have subclass on the method of pay, whether he is a salaried employee, whether he is an hourly employee, whether he is a visiting person, okay, whether he is a consultant, right? So you can represent this specialization as employee is a, this is a relationship called as a is a relationship, is an accountant, is an engineer, is a technician, like this. And then you can have the attributes associated with them, that is engineer have projects, technician has service. Okay, so what type of service this technician is providing, plumbing service or electrical service or mechanical service, that you can mention. Okay, similarly, person is either an employee or a student in a university. Okay, he can be a teacher, he can be a non-teaching, or he can be a student, right? So an employee can be either a faculty or it can be either an administrative staff. Understood? Then the reverse of specialization is generalization. Okay, so abstract का reverse. So it identifies common features and it generalizes into a superclass. So I can have one attribute as car, one attribute as truck. So I can club them into a superclass called as a vehicle. Both belong to the category vehicle, right? So you can write in the other way, vehicle is a car or is a truck. Okay, account is either your current account or it is a type of your savings account. Okay, so these are the different ways by which you can always represent your attributes. So in this video we learned about the various types of relationships, attributes, the entities. In my upcoming video I will discuss about the various types of keys. So stay tuned for more such informative videos, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to CSC Core Concepts. Thank you.